Here's a truth few men want to admit. When her name lights up your phone after weeks of silence, something inside you stirs. You've been calm, centered, focused on building yourself, but that notification pulls you right back into the emotional whirlwind you thought you had escaped. That's the moment when everything shifts, and the real power lies in how you respond. Most men, desperate to regain what they lost, rush to reply, thinking this message could be the bridge back to her. But in that rush, they lose the very control they've been working hard to rebuild. You've worked too hard to let one message unravel your peace. Brother, this is where true power quietly returns to you. Not through chasing, not through anger, but in the stillness of a man who knows his worth. In this video, we'll uncover the emotional stages she enters when you step back, and how understanding them will let you reclaim your strength without losing your dignity. Start this journey now. Like this video if you've ever felt a woman shift the moment you stop chasing. Comment. Stay strong. So I know you're standing in your power. Share this message with a brother who needs this clarity right now. Don't just watch, act. Let's go. And here's the most crucial part. This is where men get it wrong, and it's too late before they realize it. Read the message behind the message. Brother. The moment her name flashes across your screen after weeks of silence, something inside you stirs. A mix of curiosity, tension, and an old familiarity you thought you had outgrown. But here's the truth. No one ever teaches men. The text you're reading is never the real message. The real message is the intention hiding behind it, and most men miss it completely. They see her outreach and instantly assume it means reconciliation. They respond too quickly, trying to get things back, not realizing they're giving away the very power they spent weeks rebuilding. Imagine this clearly. You've been sleeping better, eating better, finding your focus again, slowly reclaiming your emotional center. And then, one small notification drags you right back into the maze you fought so hard to escape. That's the trap. If you respond from hope instead of strength, you re-enter the old cycle. She leads, you chase. She pulls back, you fall apart. And what hurts the most is knowing deep down that your instant desire to reply isn't because you're sure she cares. It's because you're longing for validation, hoping this time she finally sees your worth. But the Stoic path demands a different kind of response, one rooted in clarity, not craving. Before you type a single word, pause and interpret. Ask yourself, why now? Does this message come from genuine intention or simple convenience? Is she truly trying to connect, or only checking whether she still has influence over your emotions? These questions shift you from being reactive to being discerning, from being pulled into her world to standing firmly in your own. When you focus on her motives instead of her words, you take back control, not by ignoring her, but by deciding from a place of inner authority rather than emotional impulse. And that, brother, is where real strength begins. So here's your practice. Read the message 3 times, but don't reply for at least 1 hour. Watch your emotions rise and fall, observe the stories your mind tells you, and let your clarity, not your longing, determine your next move. And this matters, because what you choose in this first moment sets the tone for everything that comes next. 2. Control the first reaction. Brother, the first 3 seconds after her message arrive will expose the truth, whether you've healed or whether you're still hooked. That moment is the crossroads. You have a choice, to act from strength or to react from need. Most men in the heat of that instant make the mistake of replying too quickly. They've been waiting, hoping, obsessing, but they don't realize that their immediate response reveals everything they don't say out loud. It's as if their desperate need for validation is written all over the message. That quick reply isn't just a response, it's a surrender. It says without words, You still control how I feel. Now picture this. You've been taking care of yourself, focusing on your growth. Maybe you've been sleeping better, eating well, finding your inner peace. Then one day, bam, her name pops up. That sudden rush, the flutter in your stomach, your mind spinning with 1,000 thoughts. It pulls you back to a place you thought was long gone, and just like that, the calm you've worked so hard to rebuild disappears. But that's the moment you must regain control. A Stoic man doesn't act out of impulse. He doesn't respond in the same emotional state he received the message in. Instead, he breathes. He steps away from the screen. He walks outside, even if it's just to clear his head. He washes his face, recenters himself, and makes sure his reaction is coming from clarity, not panic. When you resist the urge to reply immediately, you don't just regain control. You create an emotional space where your presence becomes stronger. She feels the difference, the subtle shift that tells her you are not at her mercy anymore. That is the power of pause. Set this rule for yourself, brother. No emotional message gets a response within the first 20 minutes. Let your clarity guide you, not your impulses. And in that space, you'll find the strength to respond, or choose not to, from a place of grounded power. 3. The silence that makes her think. Brother, silence isn't just about holding your tongue. It's about the strength behind that silence. Real silence comes from strength, not desperation. And the problem most men face? They stop reaching out, but they secretly hope she notices their absence. And that energy? She can feel it, and it betrays them instantly. Imagine this. You're taking a step back. You don't text her, you don't call her, but even as you stop reaching out, your eyes still check your phone every 5 minutes. You look calm on the surface, but inside, your heart is still pacing, hoping she'll reach out. It's like a tug of war happening inside you. You're waiting. And here's the painful truth. Waiting isn't strength, it's weakness. And she will sense that weakness. Waiting is not silence. Waiting is desperation disguised as calm. And women? They can feel the difference between real power and pretend control. If your silence is just a trick to get her back, she'll know. It's not an act of strength. It's a cry for her to notice you, and she'll pick up on it. And when she does, that sense of control she once had over you evaporates. And she'll lose respect for you in the process. True Stoic silence isn't about pretending to be okay. It's about a choice. No contact, personal growth, and zero expectation. When you keep living, keep building, and keep expanding your world, your absence becomes a pressure she can't ignore. It's not just silence anymore. It's a declaration that you've moved on, that your life is moving forward without her. When she realizes that your life no longer revolves around her, something shifts in her mind. She may not admit it, but her thoughts will start circling back to you. The silence that once left her unfazed now becomes the space where she wonders, why isn't he waiting for me anymore? So the next time you feel the urge to respond, replace it with something productive. Hit 10 push-ups. Clean your desk. Call a male friend. Every action you take that reinforces your life outside of her attention is an action that builds your strength. And that's how you make silence your most powerful tool. 4. Answer only what deserves your voice. Brother, a hey after 40 days isn't effort. It's ego maintenance. It's a soft tap on your door to see whether you're still standing there, waiting, hoping, ready to prove you haven't moved on. And this is where so many men lose themselves. They think replying to every message makes them mature, polite, emotionally evolved. But it doesn't. It makes them endlessly available, and availability destroys value. The truth is simple. When you respond to everything, you teach her she never has to give anything real. Think about the times you've responded instantly to half-hearted messages. A dry, "Hey," a meaningless emoji, a late-night, "What's up?" Each time, your response carried hope, intention, longing. And each time the conversation fizzled out in minutes, leaving you emptier than before. It wasn't because you said the wrong thing. It was because you replied to something that didn't deserve your voice in the first place. And that's where the conflict begins. Every time you accept minimal effort from her, you train her to give even less. Minimal effort from her equals maximum effort from you. That's how the imbalance forms. That's how men unintentionally position themselves as backup plans without ever realizing it. She doesn't need to invest. She doesn't need to try. She doesn't need to show sincerity, because you've already shown her you'll do the emotional heavy lifting for both of you. But a Stoic man lives by a different standard. He knows that not every message deserves a response. He doesn't reward laziness, ambiguity, or attention crumbs. Instead, he responds only to messages with intention. Messages that show clarity, sincerity, a real question, or a genuine attempt to reconnect. A woman who truly values you won't send breadcrumbs. She'll send energy that matches your growth. When you respond based on standards instead of emotion, something shifts. She begins to respect you again, not because you demanded it, but because your actions make it undeniable. Your silence toward low-effort messages becomes a boundary she feels. Your selective responses signal self-respect she cannot ignore. And in that shift, you stop being an option and become a man she must meet with real intention if she wants access to you again. So here's the rule to carry with you. Before you respond, ask yourself, does this message add value to my life or drain it? If it drains you, let it go. Your voice is too valuable to be spent on anything less than real effort. And this decision, the discipline to choose where your energy goes, is what quietly changes the entire dynamic going forward. 5. Boundaries are your shield. Brother, she can reach out whenever she wants, but you decide how far she gets. That is your power. And without boundaries, you already know what happens. You step right back into the same emotional loops you swore you'd never repeat: confusion, hope, disappointment. Repeat. It's a cycle that drains your energy, steals your clarity, and slowly pulls you away from the man you've been working hard to become. Think about how many calm evenings have been ruined because one vague message from her sent your mind spiraling. You were fine, focused, relaxed, grounded, until her words showed up on your screen and suddenly your entire emotional state shifted. That's what happens when you let someone back in without limits. You lose the version of yourself you've been rebuilding, one disciplined day at a time. And here's the hard truth. A man without boundaries isn't loved. He's used. Not always intentionally, but consistently. When you allow access without requirements, when you offer emotional openness while she offers uncertainty, you don't create connection. You create imbalance. And imbalance is where self-respect dies quietly. That's why Stoic boundaries are non-negotiable. They sound like this. No long messages when she sends short ones. No last-minute meetings because she feels lonely. No sacrificing your routine to accommodate her uncertainty. No emotional exposure until she shows real consistency. These aren't punishments, they're standards. And standards are the foundation of a man's peace. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the shape of your self-worth. They tell her, and more importantly, they tell you, that your time, your energy, and your stability matter. And here's the part that surprises most men. Women are drawn to men who hold standards. Boundaries signal maturity, self-respect, and emotional strength. They communicate that you won't be moved by temporary attention, only by genuine effort. So take a moment and ground yourself in this. If she comes back, what are the 3 boundaries you refuse to break? Write them down. own them, protect them. Because the man who protects his peace becomes the man she cannot forget, and the man he himself can finally respect. 6. Patience creates the power shift. Your delay says more than your words. Brother, instant replies say, "I'm waiting." But a delayed reply, a calm, measured pause, says, "I'm centered." And that difference speaks louder than anything you could ever text back. It reveals where your power truly comes from. Most men respond fast out of fear. Fear she'll lose interest. Fear someone else will take your place. Fear of missing the window. Fear of being forgotten. But here's the truth you've forgotten in those anxious moments. If she reached out at all, it's because you were already on her mind. She knew you were interested. That's exactly why she tested the waters. Imagine the scenario clearly. You're holding your phone, your thumb hovering over the screen, heart racing as you debate how long to wait before responding. You worry she'll think you don't care. You worry she'll pull away. But in that same moment, you don't realize that your fear is creating the very outcome you desperately want to avoid, because the more you fear losing her, the easier it becomes for her to lose you. That fear leaks out through your timing, your tone, and your eagerness, and she feels it instantly. Here's where the emotional shift happens. The moment she senses you're still emotionally dependent, her curiosity fades. Attraction needs mystery, but emotional dependence kills that mystery on the spot. You become predictable, and predictability kills attraction. She already knows what you'll do. Respond fast, respond warmly, respond excitedly. There's no tension, no polarity, no sense of depth or self-governance. And without those elements, your value in her eyes begins to erode quietly. But patience, Stoic patience, is different. Stoic patience isn't a mind game. It isn't manipulation. It's the intentional act of giving yourself time to regulate your emotion so you can choose a grounded response instead of an impulsive reaction. It's stepping away from the phone, letting the wave of excitement, fear, or anticipation rise and fall, and returning only when your mind is calm enough to speak from your center. It's not about delaying to create anxiety in her. It's about delaying to anchor yourself. Because when you reply from inner fullness instead of emptiness, something shifts in the entire dynamic. You respond like a man who has direction, purpose, and emotional sovereignty. Your presence becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to attract her, but because you're genuinely aligned with yourself. She feels the difference. She feels the weight of your clarity. She senses the depth of your calm, and it's that calm, not the speed of your response, that pulls her closer. So take this with you. Set a 1-hour waiting window before any emotional reply, not to punish her, not to play it cool, but to honor yourself, to let your thoughts settle, to step back into your power before stepping back into the conversation. And as you practice this, you'll notice something. The slower you respond, the stronger you feel, and the more she leans in. Because patience doesn't just create a power shift, it reveals the man you've become. 7. Hold the frame. Reclaim your story. Act from identity, not emotion. Brother, one message can drag you backward, but only if you let it. That's the truth most men never confront. It's not the message that pulls them down, it's the part of them that still hasn't fully let go. And that's where the real battle begins, because men don't lose progress slowly. They lose it in a moment. One notification, one familiar name, one "hey" at the wrong hour, and suddenly weeks of discipline evaporate like it never existed. They forget who they've become the moment she reappears. Picture yourself clearly. You've been lifting, eating clean, sleeping deeper than you have in months, finally sharpening your mind again. You've been becoming a calmer, stronger, more intentional version of yourself, and then, out of nowhere, a text from her hits your phone. Instantly, old patterns jump out of hiding. Your mind starts racing, your chest tightens. You replay the past, You question everything. The anxiety you thought was gone returns like it never left, and that's when you realize the war was never with her. It was always with the part of you that still reacts instead of responds. This is the real conflict. Will you respond like the man you've grown into, or the man you're trying to outgrow? That question defines everything, because when you let one message shake you, it exposes something important, that your foundation wasn't as solid as you believed, and that's not a failure. It's feedback. It's showing you exactly where you still need to fortify yourself. Trauma, attachment, longing, they don't disappear overnight. They show up in these moments of pressure to test how far you've truly come. But this is where the Stoic rule changes the entire game: identity over impulse. A Stoic man acts from who he is, not what he feels. Before you respond, ask yourself, what would the strongest version of me do right now? Does responding elevate me or regress me? Is this decision aligned with the life I'm building or the life I'm leaving behind? When you take those questions seriously, you begin to respond from a place of power rather than emotion. You separate the man you were from the man you're becoming. You stop trying to win her back and start trying to win back yourself. That's the shift. That's the reclaiming. Because a man who holds the frame isn't pretending to be strong. He's choosing strength over and over again until it becomes who he is. And something changes inside you when you choose your path instead of chasing her attention. You don't just hold the frame, you rewrite the story. You step into a version of yourself she can't shake, can't control, and can't predict. You become a man defined by direction, not distraction. And that level of grounded certainty is magnetic. It pulls respect, not pity. It commands attention, not approval. So write this somewhere you will see it every day. I choose my direction, not her attention. Let it become your anchor, because every time you act from identity instead of impulse, you take one more step toward the man you were meant to be. Brother, if you've made it this far, you're already walking a path most men never dare to step onto, the path of inner strength, emotional clarity, and true self-mastery. Most men get pulled back into old patterns the moment the past knocks on their door. But you stayed, you listened, you learned. A single text can drag you straight into the man you used to be, or it can reveal just how far you've grown. The difference has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with you. It comes down to who you choose to be in the next moment. Because whether you reply or stay silent matters far less than the reason behind your choice. If you act from fear, from loneliness, or from the hope that she'll finally see your worth, you lose yourself. But if you act from strength, from standards, from the identity you're building day by day, you find yourself again. You reclaim the man you were meant to be. A Stoic man never lets someone's attention define his value. He chooses his standards, his direction, and above all, his peace. He understands that the real victory isn't getting her back, it's getting himself back. And brother, if any part of this message hit home, if you've lived through these moments, or if you're fighting through them right now, share your story in the comments. Your voice might be the exact message another man needs to hear tonight. And if you're ready for more clarity, more strength, more peace in the face of emotional storms, like this video. Subscribe to Stoic Station. Stay with us on this journey. Her message is just a moment. Your growth is the story.